What would eventually become the Crimson Fleet started out in 2223 when the Crimson Scar, a street gang in New Atlantis, was taken over by Jasper Cricks. Despite being young, only 22 years old, Cricks built the gang into a major force and eventually branched out into space. They were inexperienced as pirates, and Cricks was quickly captured by UC law enforcement and sent to the Lock, a maximum security underground prison on the planet Suvorov. Conditions in the prison were awful, and eventually Cricks orchestrated a prison riot which not only allowed the prisoners to escape, but to take over the Key, the UC's space station orbiting the planet. After using the station to repel several attacks by the UC Navy, Cricks founded the Crimson Fleet. Today, the fleet still uses the Key as its headquarters, and its captains engage in piracy and lead raids all over the settled systems. The current head of the fleet, a pirate named Delgado, has his eye on a prize with enormous potential, if he can find it. If you're interested in joining up with the Crimson Fleet, you actually have a few options for getting in. You can join up through the UC SysDef story, and then get kicked out of SysDef if you're too violent out on one of the missions. Or, if you get yourself into legal trouble inside United Colony's space, you'll be given the opportunity to join SysDef and work undercover, or reject their offer and serve out a short jail sentence. If you reject Commander Akande and choose jail, you'll be approached after you get out with an offer to meet up with a representative from the fleet who's impressed that you bailed on SysDef. If you take the meeting, you're on your way to becoming a pirate. After a couple of quick initiation missions, you're officially in. Just keep in mind that joining up with the Crimson Fleet is a pretty serious commitment.
The only way out is death. You stay loyal or you pay the consequences. Fleet before friends. Fleet before family. Fleet before yourself.
Proceeding through the plotline with the Crimson Fleet involves a pretty wide variety of jobs and missions. You get space combat, surface combat, stealth infiltration, even industrial espionage. Of course, being a pirate, you can just decide to shoot your way through a few of the more subtle missions, but just be cognizant of the significant bounty you can rack up while doing so, and really just while being a member of the Crimson Fleet in general. If you're building a character for the fleet, consider taking some points in ballistics, piloting, and security. Piloting especially becomes important if you take piracy jobs outside of the main plotline, as it allows you to commandeer more advanced types of ships that you encounter. Fleet-themed weapons are all ballistic, and being able to get through locks a little bit easier has obvious utility for a pirate. One of the biggest perks you get from being affiliated with the fleet is access to the mission boards on the Key. The Crimson Fleet board missions give better rewards than any other faction, on top of whatever booty you can plunder along the way. This is only slightly offset by the bounty that you'll occasionally rack up if you leave witnesses. And over the long run, doing Crimson Fleet mission board jobs is one of the fastest and most time-efficient ways to make credits in the entire game. You get access to the mission boards right after your very first time visiting the Key. The RP opportunities with the fleet are some of the most varied out of any of the factions in Starfield. The only real catch is that some of the best bits of gear aren't available until very late in the plotline mission chain. Even still, before you even join the fleet, you can get access to Crimson Fleet-themed weapons and spacesuits, and once you get going, the vendors on the Key will sell you even more. The red, black, gray theme also fits pretty well with some of the random stuff you find organically throughout the game, and overall, if you want to sink into the pirate's life, you can keep the look going pretty easily, even out over a longer playthrough. In terms of rewards, the fleet takes care of its own. As you progress, you'll get access to some unique ship modules, a significant amount of credits, and one of the most powerful weapons in the entire game. Also, without spoiling why, completing the Crimson Fleet quest chain gives you the ability to open Galbank cred tanks, which will start randomly spawning throughout the game, and as the name implies, they contain huge amounts of credits. Being in the fleet also gives you a less tangible but potentially important benefit: access to the vendors on the quay. The depot area of the space station has half a dozen vendors right next to each other with significant amounts of credits and no questions asked. It ends up being the best place in the entire game to unload large amounts of gear that you pick up out while adventuring. The pirate life has its benefits. So are you ready to join the baddest pirate crew in the galaxy? Do you have a complete lack of morals and ethics? Are you ready to put the fleet before family and friends? Do you want to make mind-blowing amounts of credits? Well, get yourself in trouble out in UC space and tell Commander Akande right where to shove it. As always, thanks for watching.